Okay, it's the end of the session. I'm here with my buddy Ty, and we're going to summarize kind of what we covered. Now, Ty was found in a hoarder house with about 70 other dogs. So Ty, as a result of that, has some trust issues. Probably wasn't socialized. Socialized means exposing dogs to things enough around people. So she has some issues, some trust issues. I've been here 3 hours. This is the first time I'm petting her. If you're a guest watching this, one of the best things you can do to help Ty feel comfortable is when she approaches you, don't pet her. Don't reach for her. Ignore. If she comes to sniff you, just hold still. Let her sniff you. Let her walk away. I'd probably recommend you don't try to pet her until she sniffed you, walked away, and come back at least 3 times. And it's helpful if you have really high value treats. This is my highest value treat. Hey, here. So, but there's treats over there. Hey, Ty, here. Yes, motivation is key for dogs. This is my highest level treat. This is Stewart's freeze-dried beef liver. If you get these, they come in, all the freeze-dried stuff is usually single ingredient. This is an actual beef liver. They take it and they put it in dry ice, or they freeze dry it, and then they drop it, and it shatters into these big chunks that are probably about that big. That's way too much to give to a dog. When it comes to dogs, you want to give them the smallest treat and the lowest value that works. If a dog doesn't work for it, you got to go to higher value. But that's basically, this is my highest level treat. It's actually so high a level of treat, if you give too many of these, your dog can have pancreatitis. But if I have a really distracting environment, I need to use a treat that's going to cut through the clutter. And she's a fearful dog, but this is a treat that she'll come up for. So, let's see. Let her lick it. Put it right up there. So I'm not going to say anything. She has to solve her own problem. There we go. All right, so I like to have 3 levels of treats. I was using Tricky Trainer's Soft and Chewy Liver Flavor as my mid-level treat. If you get those, cut them in half and a quarter. So it's about the appropriate size for her. Smaller than about a BB size, or a little bit bigger. Then I have Charlie Bears. Those are the white ones that we threw in the corner, the ones that kind of look like a spree. This is my highest level. Now, when you cut these up, you'll see on the bottom there's that dust. She has some dietary issues going on, so this might be too rich, but sometimes people will save that dust and use that as a topper. So your dog won't eat, you sprinkle that on. This is like gold for dogs. All right, so what did we talk about? You want to come back up here and be in the shot with us? Yes, motivation is key. We went over, the first thing we did was we went over a marker word. Her marker word is yes. And we went around the house and we said, yes, give her a treat. Take a couple steps, yes, give her a treat. I'd like you to do that about 6 different times in the next 2 to 3 days. By the time you get this video, you should be done with that. So try to remember doing that. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you walk around your whole house, say yes, give her a treat. She doesn't have to do anything. Say yes and put the treat in her mouth within 2 seconds, but the faster you get the treat in, the better. Then go to another room and repeat. We want her to know that yes works all over the house. I'll have marker words linked below, so make sure you check that out and watch that video if you want a little bit more detail. All right, let me see what else. How about a sit? Her sit is not great, so I didn't go over this with the Guardian, but what I would do is I would get treats that she really likes, hold it to her lips, and what we would do is we're going to manipulate her into a sit. Yes. So you want to go in an arc over her head. That was a really good camera angle so you can see it. To get more elevation, they put their butt down. The instant the butt hits the ground, we say yes. Yes is our marker, our indicator that tells the dog they have done the thing that we want. So we say yes, and we don't say anything else for about 5 seconds. Now, if you're asking her to do a sit, don't say sit, sit, sit. A lot of times dogs learn through a gesture first. So right here, I'll gesture her up. Yes. I didn't say sit. I used the motion lure. When she achieved what I wanted, I said my marker. That's always followed by a reinforcement, which could be a pet, a treat, or attention. So just by manipulating that, I got her to do what I wanted. Remember, there's 4 parts to a cue. There's the label, sit, for example, telling the dog what you want it to do. That's the first stage, first of the 4 parts. The second part is saying the marker word, yes, when the dog's bottom hits the ground. So that way the dog knows I did what you wanted. The third thing is giving the dog, let me see, let me go through that again. The label, and then I tell the dog to sit. That's number 1. Number 2, I lure the dog into a sit. When the dog sits, I say my marker word. She gets, and that gives her, and then I give her the treat. That's the third thing. And then, God, why am I? It's been a long day for me. So the label, the action, the marker, then the reward. Those are the four. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. So when we're teaching, we do the first step, the label, last. I wasn't telling her to sit. I'm just using a lure. Now she's laying down. That's not a sit. So I'm not going to give her the reward. I'm going to put the treat here to get her to stand up. And let's lure her again. She's thinking about it. Yes. The instant her bottom hits the ground, I say yes. Now I keep on luring her like that until when I lure that, she sits down right away. Then I'm ready to add the cue. So now I'd say sit, yes, treat. So you don't want to say the word multiple times. The more you say it, the less you mean it. So if you say sit and she doesn't sit, then lure her into that sit. And keep on luring her into the sit over and over again until it gets easy to lure her into sit. When it's easy and you're 90% sure she's going to do it, then after doing 4 or 5 or 8 in a row, then I would say sit, lure, yes, treat. So after a while, then sit, the word means if I put my bottom on the ground, you're going to say yes when I achieve it, so I know that's what you wanted, and then I get a treat afterwards. Here, sweetie. It's like, but David's bag's over there, and he's not talking, or he's not paying attention. I can get all sorts of good stuff. All right, so there we go. Yes. All right, so that's marker words. Celebrating is the easiest way to train a dog. Celebrating is really operant conditioning. So right here, I'll do a little celebrating with her right now. I'm going to pull out a treat. Normally, I wouldn't have a treat for this. I'm just going to wait. And if she does something I like, if she looks at me or if she SATs, yes. I didn't tell her to do it, but by waiting for her to do it on her own, what we'll see is she's going to start looking at me faster and faster, because that's the thing I say yes to. So she's looking at the tree, she's looking at their intruders over there. Poonsy might be coming over, he's a crazy bastard. She's trying to get the treat, but I'm not going to give her the treat. So it's okay for her to try to take it, but I'm watching her like a hawk. The first time she looks at me, because that's what I decided to go with, and I can kind of make an interesting sound to get her to look at me. That is a little bit of cheating. Yes. As soon as she made eye contact, I said yes to mark that is what I wanted. Then she gets the reward. And after a while, you'll find the dog when they figure it out, start doing it over and over again. So for sit, what I would do is have some good treats, walk around your house, lure her into sit. As soon as she sits, say yes, give her the treat. Don't say sit. Walk around the house till she gets used to doing this. Eventually, when you lure, she'll sit her bottom down right away. Now you're 90% certain, you say sit, lure, boom. Now we can also celebrate it. If she comes up and sits down on her own, just say yes and pet her under the chin or on her chest. She seems to like it on her chest better. We didn't ask her to sit, but every time she sits, we give her a reward. We say the marker so she knows that's what we wanted, and then she gets a reward. After a while, she's going to start sitting down because there's something in it for her. Most of the time when dogs don't do what we want, it's because listening to us represents the end of the fun. Let's say she's out on your deck. You ask if she's yelling at the squirrel that is trying to come in. She's yelling, she'll have a good time telling the squirrel off. You want to be a nice neighbor, so you tell her to come inside. She listens, she comes inside, you close the door, and she's like, well, shoot, I can't yell at the squirrel anymore. Listening to you represents the end of fun. I'm not going to listen to you next time you ask me to come here. Celebrating is how we undo that. It also helps the dog develop habits. Celebrating is rewarding your dog when it chooses to do things that you find desirable. Sit, come, laying down, dropping things, going to the dog bed, eye contact, whatever you find whatever thing you want your dog to do. When your dog chooses to do it on their own, you say the marker word and then pet them. So I'm going to do it right here with if she comes to me. Yes, can't see her because she's off camera, but she walked up. I didn't tell her to come up. Now, when I celebrate, I usually do it with pets, but she's not fully trusting of me yet because this is the first time I've met her. So for guests, it'd probably be better for guests to give a treat. You can give her a pet. And after a while, dogs will start sitting and resitting because when I sit, you give me attention. But don't say the word over and over. That's a common mistake, and it causes dog to listen to you less. All right, why don't we get you back up here? This video looks better when you're up here. It's right here. Dropping things motion is a better way to get dogs' attention. We also went over hand targeting. Boop. Something I forgot to mention, half of how dogs learn is not marking. I wanted her to touch her nose with my hand. I said the cue, and I did it. We only taught her a little bit, so it's not unusual that she wouldn't have it by now. But she didn't touch her nose with my hand, which is what I wanted, so I didn't say the marker. I didn't pester her about it. If she does it, then I mark and reward. If she doesn't do it, nothing happens. Don't punish your dog. Guardian here doesn't do that, but a lot of people watch my videos think you need to do that. Don't. Create a situation where the dog does what you want, you reward them. If they don't do that, nothing happens. After a while, that will cause them to start looking for the thing to get that reward, and now you have a marker word in place. Now the dog knows when they've achieved it, and the dog will do it more often. Here. Now, there's a trust issue here, and I'm crossing my body, which is kind of a rule you want to stay away from. Here. So part of this is, yes, who's going to blink first? The treat was there waiting for her. I didn't call her 8 times. I just waited. All right, now getting back to celebrating. Celebrating is just when your dog comes to you, say yes and pet him on the chin. They give you eye contact, whatever it is. If you have a partner like this household does, tell each other celebrate. So I'm sitting here and somebody says celebrate. I would say yes and pet her under her chin, probably for coming to me. I wasn't paying attention. I'm watching TV. I'm not thinking about it. So your partner can help you get into a habit of doing that. Now we also went over dog consent and cutoff signals. She's not doing it now, of course. But most dogs, when you reach over the head, they don't interpret that as a positive. I think these treats might be influencing things. So I'll have a video on cutoff signals. Watch that one. But just remember that starting petting on top of the head, dogs interpret that as domination. And they're like, why are you trying to dominate me? I'm not trying to take your stuff. So what you're going to find yourself doing is going, petting her, remembering, oh, shoot, I'm not supposed to do this. When you do that, then move your hand underneath and scratch her here. Pull your arm back. Then reach and start again on her chest or under her chin. When you do this, it's for her to let her know, I forgot that I'm petting you in a place you don't like. Then when I pull my arm back and I go back and do it here, it's for me to program my brain to reach and pet her underneath. Most dogs do not like it when you pet them on top of the head. So try to start petting under the chin, on the chest, or on the shoulders. All right, so watch out for signs of consent. Pulling away can be a sign of consent. Looking away, refusing to come to you, refusing to look at you. So if you're messing with your dog, you reach for your dog and it turns its way, and you stop trying to pet them, your dog feels confident. I said no and he listened. So now I can trust this person. Most of us think I'm going to pet you to make friends with you. I like getting hugs. If I think somebody's creepy and they come up to try to meet me by giving me a hug, that's not going to help me think of them as less creepy. So for dogs, for her, because of her background, when you have friends come over, just tell them to ignore. All right, so celebrating, get in the habit of doing that. That'll take you a couple months to get in the habit of it. Once you do, you won't even realize when you're doing it, but just about every time you pet her, it becomes a micro dog training session. You don't even realize. It also teaches them manners and helps with their self-esteem. Now, a lot of dogs are under-exercised, and the Guardian here takes her out for multiple walks a day, which is great. Exercise is best done every couple of hours. Shorter exercise, more frequent, is much better than one long exercise session. The dog's nose controls 60% of their brain, so I like to use a lot of scent work. One of the things I had the Guardian do was cookie in the corner. That's where we threw the treats in the corner. I have a video for that, so if I don't have it linked below and you want it, let me know and I'm happy to share that with you. But you can also, and we said find it. So now we have a word that means go look for stuff with your nose. So that's a great way to drain energy in the house. We also talked about getting a snuffle mat. If you get a snuffle mat, the one I like is the one from on Amazon. It's called Rundick, R-U-N-D-I-C-K. It's gray and has a picture of a golden retriever trying to get out of it. It's tassels, and when you just kind of waterfall or drop your kibble from a distance, it goes in between all the tassels. The dog has to use its nose to find that, move the tassels apart, lick it up, and repeat that 200, 300, 400 times. This makes walking your dog or feeding your dog like a short walk. Now she's growling right now, she's staring, she heard a noise outside, so she's frozen and she's looking at it. Freezing and stiff is kind of a warning for dogs. So the Guardian did a great job here. I don't know if it's because we're filming, but a lot of people tell their dog no when they growl. Never tell your dog no when it growls. When it growls, it's saying, I feel uncomfortable or I disagree. If you tell your dog not to growl, eventually you'll be successful to stop growling. Instead, they'll go straight to a bite. We like the warning. It tells us the dog's uncomfortable. Right now, she's demonstrating she's not comfortable. She's got her legs not underneath her. She is here leaning this way, and her back legs are way back here out from underneath her body. That is an indication the dog's uncomfortable. So if she comes to meet somebody, leans forward, but her legs are back here, tell the person not to try to pet her. She's trying to be brave, and if they reach to pet her, they probably will ruin it. Let me see. We also went over the video above. We'll talk about the recall and some tips for that, so I'm going to leave that alone. We also went over Leave It cue. I'm going to try to put a video together, link a video. If I forgot, message me. I'll link it above. Practice Leave It. Now, leave it, come. That's also something we worked over. I'll also link that. And if it's not linked, remind me. But all these exercises, practice. What I like to do is I like to practice 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute midday, 1 minute in the afternoon. Trying to really training sessions for dogs should be 2-3 minutes max. Once we get beyond 3 minutes, unless it's something specific like stay for duration, the dog starts losing interest and they go away. So what we want to do is keep it short, and your last repetition always needs to be a good one. So that's what the dog remembers. Last time we did this exercise, I wanted to do it more, and then you stopped early. If you do too much, the dog's like, oh, I've already done that. So, and also work your way up to real world situations. We went over leave it. We did it first with the hand, then we put it on the floor, then we collapsing, and then we're caging, and then we're hovering. I'd like you to do that all over your house. Now, next stage is maybe you put treats on the ground every 5 feet apart and have her on a leash. Walk her towards you. She's like, I'm about to get that treat. I'm about to get that treat. You say, leave it. She looks up at you. As she continues walking, she walks over the treat. And as you walk, after you walk, then you say yes and give her the treat. So what you're saying is if you leave that stuff alone on the floor, I will hook you up. Practice in an easy situation where she can learn the skill set without distractions first, then gradually add more and more distractions. Eventually, you work up to the real-world situation of what it is that she wants to do. And you've proofed her for the real world, but we don't learn to drive our car on a freeway. We learn to drive in a parking lot. We're good at that, then we put cones down. Same sort of principle dogs. Go at her pace. Let me see. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else we went over that you want me to cover?
That's it.
If your dog has diarrhea like she does, it can be an indication there's something wrong. So he went and took her to a vet today. But diarrhea can be an indication of worms or parasites or just being sick or eating the wrong thing. So what I would recommend is obviously check out with your vet, but having some canned pumpkin, some yogurt, plain yogurt with the cultures, the active cultures, or cottage cheese are things that can firm up a dog's stool. But if your dog has loose stool, it might be an indication they're uncomfortable. Did you mention anything about her coat having problems or itchy, or am I thinking about morning client?
No.
Okay.
No, she's good.
All right. If there's anything else, message me and let me know. If I don't hear from you, well, we're buddies, but normally I tell my clients if I don't hear from them, that means everything's going right. So if there's a problem, let me know. Here. We taught her this, and look how well she's doing it. Yes. Well, come here, Tia. Sit. Come on. You can do this. We did this a whole bunch. Your feet are not... See, that's what I mean about the feet, though. See that back leg is behind it? Says she's not fully trusting me yet. Yes. Well, this is my buddy Tia, and this is her roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.